Welcome to Now You Know, where we inform the public about different topics that you may be interested in, things that are really meant to educate and inform the public. Meet the team. I'm Giovanna Simmons, and I'm a real estate agent. And
I'm Cedric Smith, and I'm a real estate broker.
Right. My name is Connor Henry. I'm also a real estate agent.
So many times during the show so far, we've had some interesting topics. We've talked about financial, I would say, wellness and building wealth. We've talked about skincare. Yep. We've talked about insurance. We've talked about energy saving. Yep. But you may wonder, why haven't we talked about the housing? How to buy a house, how to sell a house. We are realtors. Right. So today we're going to go through the process, the home buying process, what that entails. We are going to go through this home selling process and what that entails, and really be able to inform you in that as well.
Yep. So let's start off with what the process is in buying a home. So when you're first buying a home, the first thing to do is to get pre-approved, which means that you go to the bank and you give them your tax forms and you give them your bank statements, and they approve you for how much money you can purchase the home for.
Many times buyers are afraid of this because they feel that their credit may be pulled, and they feel that this is somewhat of a commitment. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times they'll ask us, they'll say, well, can we find the house first and then get pre-approved?
Right. And that's the thing, like buyers have to understand that, like it just makes the job easier once we know what you're approved for. So again, I don't believe their credit gets hit back that much.
No, it's a soft pull, and you can go to multiple banks as if you're looking for a car, and you decide you're looking for a car, you're going to different dealers. So they do a soft pull, and they allow you to go to multiple banks. Mm-hmm. So, and if you don't have a banker, we also help you with that as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. Again, they access your financials, see what you're working with, see your debt to income ratio, and just figure out. They put the numbers together so they give you an idea of what you can afford and what you can purchase. Mm-hmm. And again, like I said, it makes that easier for us as well to find your home, because we can. It narrows the search down. It makes it easier to find your property.
And that's what I was going to say. When you're buying a home without getting pre-approved, it's almost like you see things in a broad way. Mm-hmm. You may not be sure exactly. Well, you'll know how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms you want. You may know the area, but when you know how much you can afford, that's when you make it real. Then you know, okay, I know for sure I'm going to be in this area. I know for sure I can afford a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. You need to have a pre-approval to help to narrow your search. So I've had buyers look at many different places. It becomes overwhelming. Right. But once they have their pre-approval letter, they know exactly where to search. So it's something that is not a want, but it's a need. You have to have it before you start searching.
All right, so now the second step is to select an agent. And they, prior to, if you go back many years ago, there was no saying as a buy agent. Most states didn't have buy agent. Now they have something called buy agent. So where you work for the buyer, the agent works for the buyer. So their fiduciary responsibility is to the buyer, not the seller. So you select an agent, and then after you select an agent, we put you on a search. You come in, we start the search process. Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most funnest part. So when you know what you're approved for, the next step is to start searching for a home. Mm-hmm. And then, sorry, do you want to go ahead and finish?
No, I was going to say, just following back on that step of selecting an agent. I always love how you explain that, because years ago there was only a seller's agent. Mm-hmm. So a buyer's agent is a new term. And before, it would be that the seller would pay for the buyer's agent to be compensated. That law has changed as well.
Yeah. So if you go back, say, 20-something years, you thought, if an agent took you out, you thought the agent was working on your behalf. He was really working for the seller. Mm-hmm. So the seller was paying him. And it would be almost like if these two were suing me, and I was paying her to have a lawyer to sue me. That's what the sellers were saying. So if we're going to get to that point where the sellers got together, they did a class action suit as of last August, and they said they no longer wanted to pay the agent. They wanted to have it as an option. They have it as an option now. And they actually won that class action suit, which you probably heard of. It's been all over the news, but they won billions of dollars. in the class action suit. So after you get pre-approved, you select your agent, you go on a search. Once you find that property, then that's where the fun begins. Right.
Yeah, once you find that property, that's when that's where it comes in. And I feel like my experience helping buyers find property is like one of the most gratifying things, because it's like you're on a treasure hunt. You're trying to find that perfect property for that person, and again, like I said, back to the pre-approval things. Like again, it just helps us out narrow down the search and what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So once you find that property, then we negotiate a rate, a price with the seller. So your buyer's agent he negotiates with the seller agent. So you go back and forth, and if the price is acceptable, then you have accepted offer. Once accepted offer is there, then the next step is the inspection.
Even before the inspection, you're going to want to have attorneys involved. So a buyer needs their own attorney and a seller needs their own attorney, because while we're scheduling the inspection, you want to select a buyer's attorney. So, and of course, we help you with that.
Yep, and we have all these people in place prior to going looking. So we know we have a couple of attorneys. You may have your own, but we have a couple of attorneys online. We have home inspectors on there that we deal with. So these are the services that we provide. Once you do that, do the home inspection. Now, when a home inspector is going to check on certain things, he's going to check on mold, termites, roof. If it's say he's going to check on this a water sprinkler system. If it's something that he's not specialized in, say he's not specialized in a crack, a suspected septic tank, then he's going to ask you to get a person that's specialized in that field. So that's additional. That's the first time really you bring out, you pay something out. So that's depending on the size of the house, that's the first time you're going to pay money out. If the home inspection comes out with something in it, we go back to the seller and we renegotiate. If it's fine and nothing comes out, then we move forward.
And depending on like the size of the home and the time it takes, those inspections, usually $500 to $1,000.
It could be more. It depends on how
or
big.
Less. It could be three.
Could be less. Could be, and they do home inspections on condos, co-ops. It's dependent on you. And we never tell a person not to do it. It's your decision. I mean, you normally price it. He's right between $500 and $100 and $1,000. I've done home inspection where it costs somebody $1,500. So if it's a real big house, it may cost a little bit more. But for first-time home buyers, it's usually running that price point.
And in the state of New York, which I always tell my buyers, even though you're having a home inspection and you have an accepted offer, you are still not in contract. So even though you're paying money for this inspection, if the sellers were to decide that they wanted to go with another offer or they wanted to withdraw their home from being on the market, they could. And no one would owe that money back to you. So inspections are a risk because you are spending money before you own or are in contract in the home, but it's something that you have to do. Really, you should do to make sure that the home is in the condition that you can afford. Everyone's different. Some people are, they have all kind of backgrounds, so they may choose, like he said, not to do it. But if you're a first-time home buyer, it's an important step.
Yeah.
Also, another thing is that, sorry, I'm losing my thought. Okay. Not only do you want to make sure that you keep this in mind so the seller can walk away, but you can walk away too. If there's something that's like, oh, the roof needs to be completely redone and you don't have the money to do that after closing, you can walk away too. So the inspections, you're still at a point when you or the seller can choose to walk away.
But we also, because of the market is, we want you to do it as quickly as possible. So we always moving forward. So within the accepting offer, we want to do it within 24, 48 hours. Now, there's a law in New York. Now, this was other places in Connecticut and Jersey, they had it already, where the seller has to disclose if anything is if they're aware of anything, like a flood or the property disclosure. So that came about probably less than a year ago, where the seller had to sign off and say, these are the things, it's about 60 things, these are the things that we disclose that we know of. And the buyer signs off of it and the seller signs off of it. Now, if it's a trust or the seller's not, then the seller doesn't have to disclose anything. So now, to go back, first you get a mortgage, then you decide to get a buyer. You get a buyer agent, and the next thing you do, after you found property, you make the offer, and then you do a home inspection. At the same time, by the time you do a home inspection, you do have an attorney by the time. You should have a buyer's attorney. The buyer attorneys are going to be doing their part, which is they're going to do the survey on the property. And see
No,
where
wait, before that point. Well, they're going to be doing before
the
they're in
survey,
contract.
the title. They're going to wait till you're in contract. It depends on what company you work with. The company we work for, because my company owns the title company, we start right away. We'll get back to that later.
Yes. So what happens is the seller's attorney sends your attorney a contract, and they go back and forth to make sure you're both covered. And then when the contract is ready, you, the buyer, signs the contract, you put your down payment, and then it's sent to the seller. Once the seller signs, now you're officially in contract.
In contract, yep.
Okay. Now, once you're in contract, that contract is going to go to the bank. And the bank is going to be working on sending an appraiser out to appraise the property, make sure that they are not paying too much for the property.
Mm-hmm. And then the title and the survey will be done.
Liens, make sure there are what kind of liens on the property.
Yeah, make sure there's no encroachment on your property.
And the only lien that should be on that property is that mortgage.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the encroachment is like the property line is here, but so this means this is the property line here, but your neighbor put the fence on your line, so they're gonna make sure that all that
is right.
Is correct.
And that's as real estate agents, we take the extra step. Sometimes we go to the building department, try to find more information about for the client, so they know what they're getting themselves into. They know where the property lines is, they know what the taxes are. This is where you need a real estate agent to help you out and do the footwork for you. You know, and there's also something else, Cedric, about property lines, stuff like that. If they build the fence, certain how many years, like 10 years.
Yes, yeah. So if what happens is, this is something that you probably don't have to worry about. This doesn't really happen, but your attorney will know what that. If somebody built a fence on your line, and it's been there, and it wasn't not your line yet, but the owner line, and it was there over 10 years, and it was, that's no longer their line. The neighbor gets to keep it. So. Unless there was some kind of agreement that he said, yes, I know I put this over there, and that's fine, but I haven't encroached on your line. So that's an issue. Your attorneys it's important that you don't have a criminal attorney or divorce attorney doing as attorney. You need a real estate attorney so they know what they're doing. So as they doing all that and all that's good, it's depending on if it's a co-op. At that point, you get the once the appraiser come out, then you get your commitment. Once the appraiser come out, the bank says yes, now you have your commitment. If it's a co-op, you fill out the co-op application and you put that in. If it's a condo or home, then you go on to the next step, which is basically declare to close. You're gonna walk through before then.
Yeah. Once you have the clear to close, the attorneys, because this is something that always comes up, a lot of times clients think it's the agents that make the closing date. We don't. We have no control of the closing date. If we did, we would have the closing date as soon as possible.
The next day.
Because I have vacations to book and bills to pay.
Bills to pay, right? All that stuff. Yeah.
But the attorneys, they schedule the closing because they're keeping in mind the bank attorney, the title person. They're thinking about everyone's schedule. The closing. I mean, there's so many different people and different titles involved in a closing. So they're thinking they're scheduling all of these people at the same day and time. So the clear to close, but the clear to close comes before that. But once you have this and you schedule the closing, you do something called a walkthrough, and that's a day before usually, or usually we suggest a day before, not the same day. So if something comes up, you have time to
rectify with the attorneys. They get back and forth and talk about whether they're going to fix it or whether they're going to leave you the part and leave some money to fix it, whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that nothing is damaged, or the refrigerator you saw there that was $3,000 now is a $50 refrigerator. So you guys going back, making sure the things that you saw before are still the same there.
Now, I always tell my buyers, don't expect to go in and see, a beautiful things that they may have wanted fixed, it's done, it's pretty. That's usually a walkthrough is not that way. It's going to be in the same condition that it was during the inspection.
And they say swept clean. That don't mean it's going to be, they hire
a professional cleaner.
No, just means that it's clean enough.
Yes. Broom swept.
Yeah,
Right.
boom, so- Okay, and then we close, and then we have you get the keys.
Yeah, and we're so happy. So
And
excited.
then we pop bottles.
So let me just go through it real quickly. So you get your first thing you do, you get your mortgage approval, you get the pre-approval, you get your agent, you go around, you find a property, you make an offer, you do the negotiation, that's done. Then they do the title, the appraisal is done, and then you close. You walk through and you close. So it's not really, we walk you through it. We don't think that you should, remember everything, what the process is. So we'll walk you through it.
Yeah, a lot of times it's so funny because when buyers come for buyer consultations, they come and they have all these documents, and we it's not even something that we really need, right? Because the most important part before you meet with an agent is your pre-approval. So the bank is going to work with you with all of that. They're going to tell you what you're paying monthly. They're going to break all that down. So when you're coming to meet with an agent, it's really just to talk about what you're looking for, and that's really where we come into play.
And you get to know the person.
Yes.
You want to make sure you get to know the person. You both got a kind of rapport going on.
Yeah.
And then you also got to remember at the end of it, when you do close, there is a cost there, the closing cost, and that you get from the mortgage person. And then 3 days prior to closing, the attorney is going to send you a statement saying these are all the costs.
Yeah, that's very important. I think a lot of buyers tend to forget that last part, the closing costs.
They normally runs about 3 to 5% of what the house costs.
Right, and that's very important because a lot of buyers, I do tend to, they like, oh wow, extra 15,000. I'm like, yeah, that's
That's your closing
that's your closing costs.
Yeah.
And it could be agreements. I work with buyers. I work with sellers. We'll get into that next, the seller side. But sellers could have something open, like an open bill or Con Ed bill. Sometimes they're going to need those things and closing costs to close out the agreement and the deal. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it is, and there's so many different moving parts.
So many. Yeah.
And that's really where you have us come into play. We always say that real estate is like a Broadway show, right? You have the orchestra, you have the actors, you have the makeup artist, you have the director, you have so many people involved. And that's what we have as a real estate agents. We are working with mortgage brokers, you're working with real estate attorneys, you're working with title attorneys. I mean, you're working with so many different factors, but you're keeping it all together. And we're helping you stay informed and to take it step by step, because we've done this millions of times. So for you, you've done it this one time. So we help to almost walk your hand through the process all while you're going through it, so you're not alone.
Yeah, so we're like the director of the show.
And you're acting. All you gotta do is show up and act.
Or even better, you're in the audience, right?
Yeah.
You show up and have your food and
just watch how everything plays out. Yeah,
exactly.
But again, our job again, like as that process going on, we try to we do our best to keep you informed on every step of the way. So we also educate you as well of the home buying process. So again, we're educating you now, but as you work with us, we definitely help our clients understand the process of what's going on and step by step, and just hold their hands and make sure they're comfortable, because it's a lot of numbers,
a
lot of people. It gets frustrating, it gets complicated. Trust me, we know. But we're here to make sure that you're calm and you understand the process, and you know that you're gonna, at the end of the day, you're gonna get that home.
Yeah, and then also the part about it with experience, we know how this problem's gonna come up. You're spending $500,000, $1 million, whatever it is, and it's just solving the problems. It's, we've done hundreds and hundreds of deals, and how you get from A to B is sometimes just a matter of okay, and sometimes it's something that we may not have come across, but then we learn and say, okay, and you have the right people in place, the right attorney. That's why we like to use our attorney. We have a title company, an insurance company, more company. We know all these people, and we say, okay, let's get this deal done.
Like I said, piggyback off him, Cedric, just having all those moving parts, but under our control, just makes the deal go smoother and faster, And again, you have the option to choose who you want, but we prefer that you work with someone in our network circle, so we know we can just call the lawyer right there. We can call the inspector. We can call who we need to call to make sure that deal goes as smooth as possible.
All right, that's the buyer side.
Yeah.
Now we get to the seller side.
Yeah.
So sellers, it's a little bit different. It's a lot easier than it was. A lot of sellers.
Which is interesting because you're making money versus spending it.
Yeah.
But isn't that always no,
easier.
Usually that's harder.
Seller side, sellers have, of course we all know the rules have changed, where the seller has an option of whether they want to pay the buyer agent or not.
Most times they do.
In New York, most times. Other places they don't. But when we take the listing from the seller, we don't put down an MLS our system that we are actually paying the buyer agent. There's a point where we get to negotiate on that. Now, what we do when we sit down with a seller, we talk to them about all the marketing that we do to get the house sold, as well as, so there's a lot of preparation on that side, making sure that the house is in a, almost like when you're doing a holiday, it's different. You have your house different when you have guests than when you live in there every day. So make sure the house is presentable. We do all the marketing on Facebook, all the social medias, and with all the agent network that we have, we make sure that they get most exposure. The most important thing is to sell a house at a fair price and to sell as quickly as the seller wanted to get it sold.
Yeah, and we also are doing the research. So we're going to the building department. We're making sure all the things that the buyer's agent will do later on, we want to make sure we do on our end before we list the property.
Yep, and then once we list the property, if it's we pay for all the upfront, we pay for all the stuff like the pictures and the floor plans and the drone shots that we doing those
Videos.
and the videos,
All the marketing.
all the marketing we do. And if you like, we do the home. We could do a pre-inspection, something that we would offer if you were interested in that. We do have other marketing stuff that we won't talk about here, but that we do offer. And
but even before you get to that point, if you're a seller and you're looking to market it, to get ready to prepare to sell, the biggest thing is clutter. You want to make sure that the home is, like you said, like if you're having guests over, when you look for properties or when you look for hotels, what are the things that catches your eye? When you look, if you see a hotel and it has a lot of things in it and it doesn't, or it looks dated, you may say, you'll skip that hotel. So you want to make sure you think like how this counter is clear. We always say like the kitchen counter is clear. You want the properties, if something needs to be touched up, paint, things that have small touch-ups, do them. So that way that the property can show well.
Yeah, and we come that day. Then we hope.
And we explain, but we're talking to them as if they're here with us. Then that's something that we want to.
And that's the definition of staging, and we're good at doing that. We definitely stage the property, make sure everything's in order, make sure everything's clean, and that's presentable to other potential buyers that can actually want the property. Because like Joanna was saying, presentation is everything. You want it to be clean. You want a certain angle, certain lighting. Make sure that everything's in order. So I don't know. It's easier on the eyes for the buyers.
And then you make sure. Then we go down the road, and we make sure you have the right seller attorney, because it's important, just like you have the buyer attorney.
Correct.
And then we selecting the right buyer. You make it in this market. The market has been, especially in the New York area we're talking about right now, it has been a seller market. So, but you want to make sure if you get multiple offers, or even you're not getting multiple offers, that you qualify that buyer. That we do all the work up front to qualify that buyer in the same light, and then make sure the buyers walk. Everything is when the appraiser come. If the appraiser want comps or other homes that's sold in the area, that we bring them with us to make sure we're there to walk the seller to. And the biggest part in selling, even in buying, and I do coach and I am a team leader, is communication. So every Monday, once a week, I do it on Monday, but my guys do one day a week, is that we update the seller, update the buyer, update the person. So much communication, whether the kind that they want, whether they want a text, whether they want you to call, whether they want to email, we constantly update. This is what happened, the appraisal was done, the appraisal came in, this was happened, the walkthrough went to, this is what happened, this is the next step. So we just over communicate, that's what I tell them, because the one thing that separate an agent from another agent is customer service. And customer service is so important, and the biggest part of customer service is communication.
Agree.
Yeah, because there are going to be problems that come up. They will come up, but the point is you work through them, and you have an agent that you can trust that will work through them for you. And so
even pricing, because we always say you can never price the house too low, and we don't make the price. Actually, the person that you sell the house for, what the house is worth, but you actually make the price. It's your house, so you make the price. We just give you what sold in the area. This is what sold. So, but we give you a range and say this is the price. What you want to price it at?
Right. We usually like piggybacking again, like we do our research, we do our comparables, we bring it to you, we present to you as agents, and we're not telling you what you price your house. We're just giving you the information and the knowledge and the facts for you to make a decision on how you want to price your home. Make a better decision. And you could get $50,000 more what you've been asking price on your home.
If you price it right.
If you price it right, right.
Yeah,
exactly.
if you price it high,
Yeah.
you won't get, because sometimes we'll have sellers who will price high and say, well, you think I'll get multiple offers? No, you have to price it low and then you get multiple offers.
You got to price it just right, you know? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, that is the buying and selling process. Of course, you know we're always here. We're always a resource. If you want to know more, you ask us and we'll tell you more.
Yeah, make sure you look at our channel too on YouTube. So we have other topics. And if you could think of a topic that you'd like us to discuss, we'll bring a special somebody in that talk about it.
Yeah, so please comment below if you have any topics that you would like to see within the show, or if you're someone who specializes in something that you think that you would like to be on TV, on YouTube.
What's our channel?
Yeah, well, now you know. And that's our YouTube channel. You comment below, but you can comment below on any of our social media. Let us know, and we'll be happy to have you on the show.
Now you know. Get to it.